how did each of you handle the user adoption and change management process within your organizations, and have you been successful?
Well, one thing I will say is that we've really concentrated hosts within the finance function just now. So I think we're at different stages. You guys probably understood that from when we gave our presentation. But we're still want to get to the point where we actually have them be direct users. And we definitely want them to do direct inputs into the system as well. Because there's something in host, not to make it a host thing, called, I think it's called offline templates. Where effectively you have a pre-configured template. They can take it, check it out, change it, modify it, put the data in, press a button, that Excel template syncs with the whole system. So we're aware of this functionality, but before we go in that direction, we've been, again, cautious. And that's something we've been kind of wanting to phase in. What we've been working on in the past year or two is our own level of comfort, expertise with the system, getting it tied into the GL systems, having that integration there, and then saying, okay, this is something we can provide to folks. So that's just been our approach. There's a certain level of learning associated with any product like this. We might literally just have some pre-configured reports for folks. One thing that is within the system is something called dynamic reporting, which is very intuitive. You can, just spin the cube however you like. So that was one of the benefits. And now that we have that capability in host, you definitely, even our CFO uses it more. Like, he used to come to me, hey, I need this report, I need that, I need this. So I became the guy who was writing all the reports. And now, the dynamic reporting is like, oh man, I love this. This is what I was wanting all this time. I want to spin it by region. I want to spin it by department. I just want to jump in myself. So I think with that addition or enhancement to the product, we're closer to letting everyone get in there.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I mean, you have to go out and do some marketing to get people to buy in. But as I said, they're being held accountable to their budgets. They get to be hungry for information and really like to go in and actually pull data instead of just waiting for me to send out reports. So I think it takes a while, and you got to market it. But I think once they adopt it, it's well received.
Sure. All right, so I'm going to go even further operationally, and that is on the rolling forecast concept. So I'm just getting involved in another situation, and so we're starting to think more heavily around the rolling forecast concept and less around the traditional forecast concept or budget concept. So how have you guys adopted those processes? And not only have you adopted them operationally, but how do you present them? And what do you ultimately manage to? If it's a constantly changing budget, you've got to manage to something. How do you do that?
Well, what we're doing right now is actually doing this 12-month rolling. So we actually, as we get a month of actuals in, we project out another 12. And really focus on the current quarter or the upcoming quarter, and less, it's more of just kind of a high-level global drivers push out that last forecast. But as we move into that current forecast, the current quarter, that's where the detail planning really takes place. And we do, obviously with the context of the original plan.
So you still have an annual plan that you measure against, and then and so when you're doing that and you're just updating on a regular basis. The annual plan is how you reward, possibly penalize, measure final performance, even if it is out of date. It's what you thought at the start of the process.
Yeah, that was the one I was saying. Yeah, and I think the benefit though is once we're still kind of in the infancy stage of doing this, but I think once we get moving forward, then all of a sudden the annual budgeting process becomes kind of almost a non-event. It's just a regular thing. So I think that's where we're headed.
That's right. That was, I think, the key benefit and why we want to move to the 12-month roll, because we're on quarterly right now. Literally now doing the budget, it takes a week. No, seriously, that's including all the review. Including the review process. Giving the inputs in. I think where we spent the time, and again, I'm not taking credit for it individually, but was identifying the key drivers. That was the key thing. Like, okay, what are the key drivers for the business, and then building that out. We still built it in Excel, and then it was okay. How can we emulate that in host? And how can we make sure that what you have in host is agreeing, is working? So independently, we're able to model it out and hit the button in host per se and get the same results. So that's how we know the system's actually calculating as it should. So I think as a diligence step, probably you still rely on Excel to a degree, right? Sure. But we still adhere to the original budget.
Bye.